Honestly, I want to watch this together. I haven't rewatched this ever since I posted it. Another one that I wanted to throw up here is an honorable mention and something that I think would be really fun for us to watch together is a video I posted right after I dropped out of high school. I made a video in 2016 titled, I Dropped Out of High School. It's an interesting video. It's an interesting video, to say the least. This video, let me pull it up. Let's go ahead and watch my dropped out of high school video. It's my first time ever rewatching this. I just want to kind of react to this live. I want to hear where my head was at, my little 17-year-old self, and I just dropped out of high school. You know, I want to hear what I was thinking. What were my plans when I did this, you know? The description here says, in today's video, I talk about dropping out and going for my GED. I hope you enjoy.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? It's your boy Goblin, and today I'm coming in with a bit of a different video. This is going to be kind of a different
Who the f is this prepubescent dude?
Tone in a more serious video than my typical comedy content. You know what I'm saying? But anyways, drop a like if you do enjoy.
This is August 2016, so this is right after my mom had almost like fully kicked me out of the house. I was living with my dad. This was like days after I dropped out of high school. I might have even made this video the day I did it, honestly.
Enjoy this video, and also check out my second upload of the day, which should be going up a little bit later.
I used to double upload every day. I used to plug the out of this Snapchat because Snapchat used to not moderate anything. It was an amazing platform to promote stuff. You could just post drugs on there. You can post whatever the fuck you wanted, bro. I'd post all my bags or whatever the fuck. I'd be posting tabs on my Snap story. Anyone who had me added on Snapchat in this era saw some insane shit on my story.
Don't want to miss. But anyways, like I said, drop a like if you guys do enjoy this video. And
this I've long been banned on Snapchat. I used to have this OG username here too. I sold that shit years ago, dude.
So,
that hasn't been my Snapchat in like almost a decade.
You guys read the title. You know what I said. I dropped out of high school. Now, you know, the first thing that comes to mind for most people when they think a high school dropout is failure. That's typically the word that comes to mind when you put those two things together. Now, I want to explain exactly why I chose to do this and why I think it is a good decision for me. So
I was really coping here. I was really coping, dude. I was really like, fuck. Deep down, I don't think I believed any of this shit. I was just trying to explain myself. I don't know. I was like, I got to make it sound like I didn't drop out to do drugs every day. Like, what is he?
You know, for those of you who don't know, my grades throughout the entire
What are you on in this vid? I have no idea. I mean, back in these days, it was fucking, especially summer 2016, it was whatever the fuck. A lot of my 2015 videos, Adderall. By this point, I was selling my Addy more than I was consuming it. But like a year prior to this, Adderall. Every single Addy. All of them.
And middle school.
Very well could have been Zans. I don't know. I think also the way I speak has changed a lot over the years. Like, I think I project myself better. I think I speak a little more fluently. I think I've learned a lot of, like, skill in public speaking since this. So I think, yeah, like, I definitely probably was fucked up here. But another big part of it is, like, I didn't speak professionally. You know, I think I've definitely improved at that.
Been garbage, and it's not because I'm stupid. My standardized tests and my test scores.
The first thing I had to get out of the way was, yo, I'm not a dumb fuck, because I knew immediately all the comments were gonna be like, yo, so you're retarded. So you're just retarded, you know?
Themselves are really fucking good, like really, really high up there in terms of standardized.
Low key, I did do really good on those like state mandated tests. I was in like the 94th or 95th percentile for English. Math, we don't talk about that. I was low ELO math. I was like a 70 percentile math player. Okay, but English, buddy, I was like 95%. Okay. I was the GOAT. ACT score? I don't. No, actually, I do. I was mixing the SAT and the ACT up. The SAT is the one I never took. The ACT, I got a 23, which, mind you, I did that with zero preparation, failing all my classes, and I showed up fucked up. And I remember the last writing portion of the ACT, there was a huge essay portion. I literally just wrote the word bet and left to go get high. Like, I legit just wrote bet. I remember there was this girl named Danielle in my final class where we wrote the essay for the fucking ACT. And I remember I wrote bet and I showed her. She was next to me. I showed her and I was like, you want to get high? She was like, yeah. We just went and got high. Fucking, she was amazing. Why'd you take the ACT? Dude, it was like mandated by my school. It was mandated by my school, but I got a 23, which I thought was really good. I was like, dude, that's fucking good. I'm not a retard.
Testing. But the thing is, I've never been one who's able to motivate myself to do schoolwork.
True.
So,
Long before I ever started doing drugs, I never would do any outside of schoolwork. Like the moment I had the freedom to choose whether or not I was going to do schoolwork, I was not doing schoolwork, bro. The drugs are not.
It wasn't as bad before I started doing drugs and all those things like blowing dope, drinking, and eventually escalating into...
That's such a 16-year-old way to talk about smoking weed.
Where I was
such a little idiot, dude.
One point, and what I am now past today. But before that, it was still at a manageable level. Like, I hated school, but I was able to get the grades
I was smoking blunts of fucking mid. Yeah, I'm blowing dope.
Needed to at least pass the year. And then around the middle of sophomore year, I want to say, is when drugs started becoming a part of my life, and blowing dope and drinking and all that kind of took a turn for the worst on my grades, to say the least. They really did dick down my grades. So by the time I was done having my fun, I was like halfway through junior year.
I'm like cringing watching this, dude. I'd smack the fuck out of my younger self, dude. I'd call this little bitch ass a hooligan, dude. Are you kidding me? This little fucking loser. Oh my god.
And I was passing like maybe 2 classes a semester, and
that is 100% true. Yeah, if even 2 classes a semester.
I kind of realized, I was like, oh fuck, I need to get this together. So, which is why I got switched to an alternative school, because they had more periods a day, and I was able to catch up. I was able to actually get my stuff done. So I went to that alternative school for half a semester last year. For those of you guys who were subbed to me back then,
half a school year, not half a semester. It was half a school year. I did 1 full semester at that school, not half a semester.
I don't know that. And there you go, fun Goblin fact. And then this year, for those of you who know, most of you probably do,
the day was not longer. The classes were just shorter. It was like very fucked up. This was like how the school district I went to would stat pad their graduation rate. They would send us to retard school that was basically a free diploma.
Kicked out of my mom's house, and I had to move in with my dad, who was a couple towns over, which meant that I had to transfer schools for my senior year. Or what was supposed to be my senior year, I guess you could say. I'm going to explain that in a minute. But transferring schools is not why I dropped out. I don't give a fuck where I am. I don't care if I don't know anybody. I'll meet people. It wasn't a social thing. It was the fact that I transferred to this school, okay?
This is 100% true. I for sure would have finished high school if this didn't happen right here.
And the only way for me to graduate is if I passed every class. I took 8 classes a day. The normal's 6, I think. I got out 45 minutes later than everyone else. And on top of that, I still wouldn't be able to graduate as a normal senior. I'd have to do at least half an extra semester. I was behind. And on top of that, not all my fucking credits transferred over. So the credits that I did
so this was fucked up. So this summer, my mom threw me out of her house entirely and sent me to live with my dad. My dad lived in a different area, different school district, and the high school that I got enrolled in near him wouldn't accept all my transfer credits from my old school. Not everything transferred. So I was in a situation where I would have had to be a super senior. I legit would have had to be a super senior to finish high school, which was a term that I guarantee you I never said in this video. I was so ashamed of admitting that. I would never say that I was going to be a super senior. I literally dropped out because I was going to be a super senior. If I didn't have to do that, I for sure would have just finished my senior year at a different school. For sure. That school was also unbelievably ghetto. That shit was insane. I saw more fake designer belts on my first day of school at that fucking high school than I ever had anywhere else in my life, dude. Ever. It was unfucking believable, dude. It was unfucking believable. Let's bring back saying dope instead of za or weed. well, people refer to dope as opiates now. When you're doing dope, it's heroin. People don't really that I feel like that's just such a kid thing to say. It's you're not really blowing dope. You just want to say you are, Yeah, I'm blowing dope. You're just smoking a blunt of mid. But yeah, that was the main fucking reason that I didn't finish high school back in the day, because I would have had to be a super senior.
Half the few and far between that really counted, each half credit counted at this point. I lost I want to say a credit and a half, 2 credits, because they just didn't transfer over to my new school for some reason. I don't know, district policy or whatever. So I was going to have to do extra school. And that's something that, honestly, fuck that. Okay, I've never been one to do well in high school. I'm not gonna be able to go to college, unless I do a 2-year school. Which first I just
I was
want to
fully aware of
honestly
that.
get my.
I was fully aware, even from a very young age, I was never going to college. I think I knew, probably even before drugs, I think late middle to early high school, I had just kind of accepted in myself that I was not going to college. There was a 0% chance. I had no interest in that. I had no drive for education. I had no drive for school. I didn't want to go to college. I remember telling my parents that before it ever became reality. And they always were in denial about it because, my mom's side of the family, my dad's side of the family never cared. They didn't give a fuck. They all hated. The moment I started doing drugs, my whole dad's side of the family effectively disowned me. Like, they hated me, right? My mom's side of the family, very college educated people. Like, even the, dumb fuck around uncle of my mom's side of the family is college educated. Everyone is. So me coming to my parents and telling them that I'm not going to get an education was like me telling them I'm going to kill our bloodline. That was me telling them I'm sending us all off a cliff, My grandma on my mom's side was the vice president of a small local college at one point. To give you an idea of how deep into education my mom's side of the family was. None of them were PhD fucking giga geniuses, but education was my grandparents on my mom's side really drove that, dude. Education was it. You had to get a college degree or you're going to be the loser forever. And I don't subscribe to that. I never did. I never believed that notion. And I think I just got really lucky with the time that I was alive. I was at the perfect age for the birth of this YouTube shit and this internet shit. And I think without this YouTube shit, yeah, they might have been right. They might have been right. Maybe I would have had to go to college or something. But thankfully this existed and I was the perfect age to do it. And I didn't have to do that. And I'm very fortunate that I, this worked out.
My whole fucking life figured out before I think of college or any of that extensive, extra schooling stuff. I want to get my whole life figured out. So I decided to drop out so I can honestly just get a job and get my GED.
Nope. That's a lie. I dropped out to get high as fuck on Xanax and acid and every other drug my plug had. Get my life together, my fucking ass.
Because I don't want to sit here wasting all my time in high school when I literally can't.
I had no plan. I want you guys to understand, I'm not just saying this was false because of what really happened, but, I was literally lying. At this time, I knew deep down I only dropped out to get high. This is going to sound kind of morbid, but just very bluntly, I had no plan for myself in the future. I legitimately, I was just I'm probably just going to, do drugs for a hell of a long time until I get tired of it and then just, shoot myself or something. That was not even on a, really depressing. That was legit where my brain was at. Everything was so boring to me except getting high and making YouTube videos. That was just man, I'm just going to do drugs until I physically can't anymore and then just blow my fucking brains out. That was just where I was. And very luckily, it turned out the drugs were kind of fun and this YouTube shit was kind of fun. And we ain't blowing the brains out, baby.
Not motivate myself. I hate it. Every day was horrible. I was actually so unhappy because with school before, at least I had friends. I knew people. At this school, not only do I hate school, but I don't know a fucking soul. And sure, I was.
That was the tough part.
People,
yeah,
it takes time to build up relationships with people to the point where you're comfortable with them. That's not a quick thing, and that's just something that I don't know. I just felt I would be way better off getting my GED, getting a job, and just banging that out, just grinding my.
So I did actually get a GED. That's another interesting part of this video. I do have my GED. I went shockingly easy. I'll tell you right now, any of you guys who are out there and you might have to go take the GED test, you might have to go get a GED. I was actually stunned at how easy that shit was. Let's see it. Bro, you think I have my GED framed or some shit? Dude, I'd wipe my ass with that piece of paper. What the hell am I going to do with a GED, dude? What am I going to... the hell am I going to do with that shit, dude? I don't have that. But yeah, I went. I remember I took it at a community college, College of DuPage. I took my test at a community college. Passed it first try, no prep. I didn't take any class. I didn't buy any of those fucking booklets. I just showed up and took it, and I passed it. Because like I said before, I was always good at test taking. I was actually really good at test taking. I knew the facts. The problem was, and the reason my grades were so bad, and the reason I effectively flunked out of school, is I would not do anything except what I had to do when I was in school. The moment I was outside the bounds of school grounds and I was able to go get high or fucking play video games or do whatever, that's exactly what I was going to go do. I was not doing schoolwork. So that's why I flunked out primarily. You know, obviously there was a million other factors, but like that was the core of everything. A lot of my other friends even would do their work first and then go get high. Fuck no, buddy. The work is coming never. I'm just getting high. You know? That was how I was. And I want to stress really honestly, like I got really lucky that this worked out for me because I never had a plan. I never had belief. Like I never really believed this was going to work. Like I said, I thought it was gonna. I never really believed this was going to work. I remember when I was younger, me and my mom got in this really big fight when she was first trying to kick me out of the house before my DUI. She'd been trying to throw me out for months before my DUI came along, and then she finally just threw me the fuck out. But I remember I got in an argument with my mom, and I was telling my mom, I was like, Mom, just give me time to go for this YouTube thing. Like, I really think it's going to work. And I was actually lying to her. I wasn't. I didn't believe it. I was just trying to buy more time to get high. But I was making a couple $100 a month off my YouTube channel, and I was showing my mom that, like, look, Mom, I made $200 off this YouTube channel this month. Like, just give me some more time. I promise I can make, I can really do this. Like, I can make a living. And my mom believed it. Thank God. Thank God. My dad certainly didn't. He fucking cut me off. But my mom did not believe that shit. So she was like, or my mom did kind of believe it. My mom was like, okay, I'll give you some time. And then the DUI came around and she was just like, well, I certainly hope that works for you. Good luck, Thankfully, it did work. It did work, But in general, I don't want you guys watching this to be like, oh, well, Goblin just said, fuck everything, I'm getting high, and it worked for him, so maybe it'll work for me too. I got really lucky. And like this YouTube shit was a perfect storm, really. I came up at the perfect time. I first blew up at the perfect time when this shit was still new. TikTok wasn't a thing yet. Vine was new. People didn't do shorts the same way. Long form content, the algorithm was totally different. The ban system was totally different. Everything was very, very different, right? I personally believe that if I was this age, the age I was in this video today, trying to do the same thing, make the same type of content, I would never make it. Honestly, I was the outcome of I was the product of a perfect environment, a perfect storm. The drugs were perfect. They weren't cut with fent yet. The YouTube algorithm was perfect. It wasn't age restricting and suppressing drug content yet. The time of my life was perfect. I was able to kind of fuck around and I wasn't quite thrown out of my parents' house yet. It just worked out, It just worked out. It was a perfect storm. It was, honestly, I think the one thing that I really take away from this is like how lucky I was to have gone through my peak addiction era when I did and where I did. Because I think if I was this type of drug addict today, I think if this guy who made this video was sitting at this very desk today, he would be dead. Like, this guy would be alive. This guy would be in a coffin because he would have OD'd on some shit that was cut, I got very lucky where back in my day, I make it sound like I'm so old, I'm not that old, but like back in my day, the cocaine wasn't cut with fent. The Xans weren't cut with fent. They were cutting this shit with lidocaine and they were putting like fucked up fillers in the Xan presses. Are your parents happy with where you are with YouTube and business today? I mean, yeah, of course. I think my parents are, okay. I say my parents, my mom, and my mom's side of the family is happy. My dad and my entire dad's side of the family disowned me after rehab. The last time I ever saw my dad or spoke to my dad was when I was 17 years old in residential rehab. I remember my dad came to visit me. I was up in Minnesota. He came all the way up to visit me in rehab. And I remember we're having a conversation in the cafeteria. And it was talking about what was going to happen when I got out of rehab. And I was given an ultimatum by my parents, right? Or by my dad, mainly. It wasn't like my mom didn't give me an ultimatum. My mom would accept me back home no matter what, which is why I ended up living with my mom after rehab. But my dad said to me, when you get out of rehab, you need to come live with me. You can't live at your mother's house because, you get high at your mom's house. She doesn't enforce the rules. And if you come live with me, you're not going to have any internet access. Like, you're solely just going to go to work and stay sober. which meant that I wasn't going to have my YouTube channel. And I said fuck no to that. I literally said fuck no. I remember I got mad, dude. I was yelling at my dad. That was the last time I ever saw my dad. When he said that to me in person, I said no to that. That was literally the last time I ever saw my dad. I was 17 years old at that point. I'm 26 now. It's been almost 9 years now. Almost 9 years. That was the last time I ever saw or even spoke to him. Like, period. That was the last real interaction I had with him. I said no, and he was just like, all right. You know, I think something that runs in my dad's side of the family is being stubborn. So, like, my dad is the kind of guy where, like, if he offers you an ultimatum and you say no, he's just like, all right, he'll just never speak to you again. And as fucked up as that is, I'm the same kind of guy. I have that trait. I'm the same exact fucking person, you know, that runs in my family. But yeah, I remember after I got out of rehab, I just moved in with my mom full time, permanently, because that was the only way I was going to be able to do my YouTube channel. Honestly, if the internet thing wasn't a topic, like if he let me have internet and all that, I definitely would have gone between both houses still. But it was that aspect of what he wanted. I was just like, nope, I'm not folding, you know? I'm not folding. So honestly, I mean, shout out moms, you know, she's the real reason that this YouTube channel is here. You know, she's the real reason. And even when I was in rehab, I remember specifically my counselor, my main counselor, her name was Erin. My counselor when I was in rehab was telling me that I needed to delete my YouTube channel. The director of the whole unit, my whole unit at the residential facility, brought me to his office one day to talk about my YouTube channel, and he had it pulled up on his computer, and he told me that I needed to delete my YouTube channel. They both said it was enabling me. They were like, man, it's enabling you. You know, how are you going to stay sober and continue making this content? You can't do it. You need to delete your channel. You can't be making these types of videos. These are enabling you. These are triggering you. I never listened to that shit. I was always like, fuck that. Fuck no. You know? Fuck that. Yeah, I see a lot of you guys in chat bringing this up. Yeah, so, I mean, I guess I spoke to my dad very briefly when he canceled my health insurance a couple of years ago, like, unexpectedly. I remember I called him up, and this was like peak cokehead. I called his work phone number, and he answered very briefly. It was like a 5-second conversation. In my view, this is peak cocaine rage. This is the first time I'd spoken to him since rehab. So it had been years and years since I'd spoken to him. A lot of pent-up emotions. On the phone, I remember he said something to me that really stuck with me. He was like, well, I barely even know you anymore. Like, you're not my son anymore. He said that to me. I was so pissed. You guys know what I fucking did? Bro, I sent a pallet of... He has a bad back. I sent a shed, like a really heavy shed, and a pallet of bottled water. Not one case, a pallet. Like a whole, warehouse pallet of water to his crib. I ordered that shit straight to his house. I don't know what happened to it, but inevitably someone had to move it. Someone had to move that shit. That was my revenge. As soon as that phone call ended, I was like, motherfucker, you want to cancel my insurance? And then you tell me that I'm not your son? Pallet of water. And it's not even spring water. It's trash-ass water. Bro's gonna blow his back out. I was so coked up, dude. Holy fuck, I was peak coke. I sent a pallet. I think I sent a couple other heavy things, but those were like the big two. I was literally online just like, yo, what's the heaviest shit I can send to my dad's house so he can blow his back? You know, trying to pick it up. Like, what is literally the heaviest shit? And my dad also is the most antisocial person on earth. He would never ask his neighbor for help or anything. Like, he's doing that shit himself. So I was like, yo, this is going to end great. I can't tell you what the outcome was. I have no idea. But I know the stuff got delivered. I was watching it like a hawk. I know that shit got delivered. So I got... Oh, God. I hope he blew his back out on that shit. Oh, my God. But, yeah, that was... I don't know how we got off on this little tangent. We're like a little over halfway through the video. You think he knows about your channel? Of course. Of course. Everyone in my family knows about my channel at this point. Everyone in my family knows about my channel. I remember my dad... This is one of the most fucked things my dad ever did. My dad put a tracking device on my car when I was younger. I used to have a Honda Accord. He was like so... Instead of just being a real parent and like speaking to me about my drug use and being like, hey, where are you going? Why are you out this late? He was very passive aggressive. He put a tracking device on my car and he was emailing a detective at the local police department being like, I think a drug dealer lives here. I've been tracking my son to this house and like he keeps coming home high. He was trying to snitch. He was trying to like get all my homies arrested and shit. And I remember the only reason I found out about that is because my mom told me he had been doing that one day. Listen, the best benefit of having divorced parents, my parents hated each other so much that they would rat each other out to me, like all the fucking time, right? So maybe that helps you guys understand why we don't talk so much. Like, I make it sound like it's a very sad thing, like, oh, I wish you would talk to me. Nah, bro. I hope that motherfucker has to pick up 10 pallets of water. Okay, I hope the spine snaps. You know what I'm saying? But... That was the type of shit he would do when I was younger. That was the type of shit he would do when I was younger. It was just super toxic. He would never like really parent. It was always just a very passive aggressive thing, try to force his way, you know? Either way though, let's pour up another shot. Let's continue this video.
Job, working damn near full time, if not full time, saving up money to move out and be independent eventually. And there's a lot of really nicely paying, physical labor kind of warehouse jobs.
Yo, can we keep it a buck? Do you think my fat ass is working a warehouse job, brother? You think my ass is gonna be up in there laboring? I would have been fucked. I would have been cooked. Are you kidding? Yeah, forklift certified, I probably would have been. I would have been the Yeah, no, you're right. I would have been the forklift guy. Then would have showed up off the Zans and dropped like 5 pallets of soda, and away I go. That would have been my job. You're right. Yeah, I would have been the forklift operator. Let's continue watching our little dropout video, though. Let's pour up another shot, too. Guys, I'm not going to get my mom on the podcast, bro. She has a professional job that she cares about, and I'm not going to fuck up her image by getting her on the show and being like, hey, so let's talk about your drug addict fuck-up son and make everyone think you're a bad parent while you still have a job. My mom is an adolescent. Listen, I'm going to explain really quick. This is the only time I'm going to explain this. My mom is an adolescent drug addiction counselor. Like, she specializes in teenage drug addicts, okay? My mom, her entire list of clients likely knows who I am, okay? The moment that woman walks onto my podcast set, all of her sessions are over. Oh, it is insanely ironic. It's unbelievably on the nose. Yeah, my mom is an adolescent drug addiction counselor, and here I am. And she had an adolescent drug addict at home. Unbelievable. But yeah, so that's what she does for a living. So I just wouldn't have her on the show and she doesn't want to until she retires either. We've spoken about it. Don't think I've never brought it up to her. I have, for sure. It's just we've mutually agreed it's not a good idea until she is no longer in the workforce. You know, she'd never try to practice on you. Well, I think it's different when it's your parent. Like, you can't get therapy from your parent. You can't be totally open with your parent. I've been to therapy numerous times. My parents sent me all the time. When I was on probation, I was required to go to therapy. That was one of the conditions of my probation. Was she doing that before you started drugs? Yes. When I was really young, my mom was an accountant. And I remember we were really poor. She wasn't making very much money. She was just, it was really tough, dude. She had breast cancer at the time, too. And I remember she went back to school and she got a degree in being a therapist. And she got out and she was an immediately adolescent drug therapist. Like, it wasn't any other type of therapist. Insane foreshadowing that she then went on to have an adolescent drug addict son, right? She did. Yeah, it wasn't like an insane, like, it wasn't like, yeah, like she's getting chemo in the hospital and I'm visiting her on the bed type of cancer, you know? It was like I think comparatively minor. I don't know. But I remember I would come home and she'd be fucked up off the drugs. Like, she'd be sitting in her chair off the scripts they'd give her after her treatment, fucking zooted watching Days of Our Lives, dude. Oh my God. I could tell you everything about Days of Our Lives from my mom watching that shit zooted off the meds. Oh my God. That intro with the hourglass, the sand pouring down. Days of Our Lives. Bro, holy fuck. Oh my God. I could tell you everything about that shit, bro. Holy fuck. All right. Either way, no, let's continue this video. Let's take another shot real quick. All right. Cheers, everybody. Ooh. Okay, no, we're getting way off topic, bro. Let's continue.
That you could take when you're 18, which I'm only like 3 months away from, like a little over 3 months away.
God,
from
little
being
prepubescent
18.
me.
And that's lit, honestly. That's my plan. I'm just going to maintain a shitty little job until I turn 18, and then I'm going to go work a nice paying warehouse job that are paying.
I just assumed that was going to happen. I was just like, yeah, I'll just work my shit job. Then I'll turn 18, just go labor for the rest of my life. I don't think you guys understand. The way I envisioned myself when I was older, when I was this age, was I envisioned myself studio apartment, $30,000 a year, Stouffer's meals every night, but I had my drugs. Like, that was legitimately my vision for my future at this point. It was pretty bleak. It was pretty depressing, but that was all I wanted. Like, that was it. You know, I was just like, man, give me a studio apartment, give me some Stouffer's meals, and give me fucking weed and Zans and liquor. And, like, we're in this bitch. Specifically Stouffer's mac and cheese, and we're in this hoe. You know? That was my vision, dude.
Like, 20 an hour.
That's kind of me right now. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with being that. there's nothing wrong with being that, but I think just always set your goals higher. You know, I think at this point I was really not like I didn't believe myself. Like I didn't think this was gonna work. I didn't think I was gonna I just never expected this, you know.
And upwards, like some real nice payment for like a young age. And that's my plan. I'm just gonna get a couple of homies together, work my job, and we're gonna get our own apartment and just split rent with like me and another friend.
Yeah,
or
it just
two.
works.
It's just gonna be.
It's always you guys know everyone who's lived with a friend. You should know that of course always works.
Now holler. I just feel like this is a way better path. Because education isn't for everyone. That's the thing. A lot of people think that if you don't go to college, if you don't graduate high school, you're a failure and you're a fucking.
If you don't go to college, you don't graduate high school, you're a failure. But me, I'm gonna work in a warehouse and live in a studio apartment, so I am not that. What a video!
Idiot. And that's just not true. Education is not for everyone at all. There are incredibly successful people who are dropouts, and there are incredibly successful people, who fucking.
How long until I pull the Bill Gates card, dude? That's every dropout's favorite card to play is the Bill Gates one. Bill Gates dropped out. Yeah, dropped out of Harvard to make Microsoft. I dropped out of high school to do drugs.
And despise it and did not do well. You know, people think that because you're a dropout or because you don't go to college, you can't do whatever the fuck you want to in life. And to that I say, fuck you. I'm going to show all y'all that you could do whatever the hell you want to in life.
I'm going to show all y'all that I can get this forklift operator position.
I'm going to make it happen. You got to have that dedication. That's the thing. If you drop out and you just do jack shit, that's a whole different story. But I got my whole fucking life planned out here. I really want to make this shit.
Dude, my only plan was forklift certified. That was my whole. Yeah, I'm gonna make it happen, guys.
It work, and I felt like high school was literally just holding me back. It was just putting
holy
shit on the
shit
things I was gonna do after high school.
This was peak delusional content, actually. High school was holding me back, baby. I'm gonna show y'all what I can do. I immediately after this went and got a job making $7 an hour at fucking Jewel Osco. This shit's holding me back, baby. I had some weeks my paychecks weren't even $100.
Because I sat there and I thought about it, and I thought, what am I gonna do with a diploma? Like, let's say I do graduate.
Blow that bitch ass
and
guy
I get
up.
My diploma.
Blow that bitch
what
ass
am I gonna do
fool
with
up.
that? Just go work a fucking warehouse job, like I already planned, because I'm not going to college. So why would I not just drop out?
Yo, I was way too nice of a guy here as a kid. Why'd I let that guy get away, bro? I'd blow his bitch ass up too.
And start working those jobs sooner. Build up those savings accounts a little sooner.
Oh, that's my homie. I remember that name. That's my homie that I still play games with him. No way. That's crazy.
So I can afford to support myself.
No wonder I didn't blow him up. Never mind. That's gang right there. We can't blow him up.
Live in my own apartment and live my own life and finally be an adult and be independent, which is honestly what I've always wanted ever since I was a little kid. When my parents first started letting me.
I make that sound like it's some career dream. Yo, I just want to be an adult, as if that's not every human on Earth's fucking
stay home alone
outcome.
I knew that's what I wanted. That shit's lit, dude. I love independence. So fuck yeah, I'm just trying to get out here and make as much money.
God, I was such a dumbass, dude. It's really unbelievable how much of a dumb fuck I was. I think this video is a perfect example of how you could be the dumbest motherfucker on earth with the worst mindset ever and it's not over. You know, people change very quickly. People change very rapidly. I am a completely different guy than I was in this video. Completely. I'm the same deep down, but my mindset, I'm a very different person.
I possibly can. That's the motto. That's the mission. So, I don't know. I expect a decent amount of interesting comments, to say the least, on this video. Can't wait to see the fuck storm of the comment section that this is. But anyways, I hope you guys did enjoy this video. Drop a like if you...
I think around this age, I was having a really hard time because I was really on the fence of I didn't know what to do, because the only guidance I'd ever gotten from either side of my family, but mainly my mom's. My dad did not really, he didn't really father me. I didn't learn dad things from my dad. But my whole mom's side of the family basically just taught me to get educated and go to college. And as soon as it became, kind of reality that wasn't going to happen, the guidance ended there. Everyone just kind of accepted oh, this kid's fucked. There was no further oh, you can still do this, you can still do that. It was just oh, he's not going to college? Well, his cousin will probably pull it off. We'll all focus on him now. that's just kind of how it was. So I was really lost at this area of my life because I just had no idea what I was going to do. I had no idea. I thought I was so fucked deep down, and I just wasn't willing to admit it. My ego, my pride, I just was not willing to hop on, whether it was the internet or like talk to my mom and just admit to her, hey, I'm in trouble. I think I'm fucked. That's a double-edged sword. Because on one hand, I wasn't very real about my situation here, but then on the other hand, I think that misguided confidence and that ego of like, yo, I'm locked in, is definitely a factor in what brought me here. For sure. But that was a fun video to watch, dude. That was a fun video to watch. Hearing from my old little high school self, dude. You guys want to hear an even older video? Let's pull up a real old video. I know you grew up near Rockford. Did you ever visit for any reason? So Rockford was about an hour away from where I actually lived and grew up. But when I sold bathtubs, I worked at a company called Bath Planet. I could probably say the name of the company now. It doesn't matter. It's been long enough. I worked at a company called Bath Planet. They were headquartered in Sherwood, Illinois, or Streamwood, something like that. And I remember sometimes I would drive up to Rockford and we would do these events. There was like a carnival there. There was like this carnival where we would have this little fucking booth set up. And I worked in Rockford multiple times doing that. It was dude, they wouldn't pay us shit extra. There was no incentive pay to go there. It was just, we'd be assigned to commute an hour and a half each way and they better fucking, we better show up or else we're in deep trouble. That was just the way it was. That was the way it was.